Mystic Shadows is a gothic supernatural mystery that follows Harmony, Enigma, and Nightshade, three friends that are more like sisters who receive an invitation to perform at the Halloween Gala at the Blackwell Mansion in Maine. They see this as their opportunity as a goth band to be seen and potentially signed. When they arrive at the Blackwell Mansion, they stumble upon a mystery that has been around for centuries and potentially tied to one of them. A gothic mystery as they uncover secrets of the estate, the cursed Blackwell bloodline, and tragic love story that still echoes through its halls. As old legends awaken and hidden powers stir, the sisters must decide whether to embrace their destiny or be consumed by the shadows of the past. To understand the mansion's dark mysteries and the centuries-old curse that binds it, we must journey back to a time long forgotten, when gods and monsters walked among humans, and destinies were shaped by love, loss, and the sacred Codex, a power of legacy whispered through the ages that may still touch one of the mystic shadows themselves. In a time long before our histories were written, humans and monsters lived side by side. Their lives were intertwined, the worlds overlapping, sometimes in harmony, sometimes in conflict. It was an age of wonder, but also of danger, where the line between the natural and the supernatural was blurred. Around 560 BC, a coven of witches recognized the growing threat of unchecked magical power. They created a single sacred tome, the Codex. Within its pages lay knowledge beyond imagination, spells capable of shaping reality itself, secrets that could alter life and death, and most crucially, the blueprint for a barrier that would one day separate the human world from the monster world, the Vail. For centuries, the Codex was the heart of the Coven's power. It traveled with them across lands, finally settling in the region now known as the Basque Country. Through generations, the witches safeguarded the book, preserving its secrets and its promise, while the world around them changed in ways both ordinary and extraordinary. Humans and monsters had lived side by side for centuries. At times, the two worlds coexisted peacefully, but there was moments when some monsters, believing themselves superior, waged brutal attacks on humans. These conflicts brought suffering to both sides, and the balance of life trembled. To end the cycle of violence, humans and monsters came together in a pact, forging a barrier that would divide the worlds forever, the Vail. 7 sacred objects were chosen to channel the power needed for the monumental task, and among them, one stood above all, the Codex. The book's pages contained the knowledge to create the Vail, but also far deeper secrets, whispers of forbidden magic, and even the power of reanimation. Once the Vail was completed, some monsters chose to remain hidden in the human world, living in secrecy to avoid those who would hunt them. Over time, humans forgot that gods and monsters had ever walked among them, their existence fading into legend, their true nature buried beneath myth and superstition. To protect the Codex from falling into the wrong hands, it was entrusted to Vivian Corvain, a witch of remarkable skill and wisdom. For generations, her family would guard the Codex, preserving its secrets and keeping the fragile balance between the worlds intact. Morgana Corvain was born in 1602, the daughter of Vivian Corvain. From the very beginning, her life was intertwined with the Codex. Under her mother's watchful eye, Morgana learned the spells, the secrets, and the responsibility that came with protecting such a powerful artifact. By 1615, the world outside the sanctuary grew dangerous. Hunters discovered Morgana and her mother, and in a desperate struggle to protect her daughter, Vivian was killed. Morgana, only 13, was left alone but determined. Guided by loyal friends of the Coven, she honed her skills in secret, carrying the weight of the Codex and its legacy on her young shoulders. In time, Morgana met a noble Templar knight who had grown disillusioned with his orders. That union brought forth Amara Corvain, born in 1625. For 15 years, Morgana taught her daughter the ways of the magic, the sacred responsibility of guarding the Codex, and the delicate balance between the human and monster worlds. In 1640, Morgana passed from this life, leaving 15-year-old Amara as the new guardian of the Codex. With her mother's death, Amara assumed the mantle of the protector, stepping into a world grown ever more hostile toward witches, monsters, and those who carried their secrets. In 1653, Amara Corvain, now 28, met Richard Ravenscroft, a nobleman from a distant coven. Unlike many, his family had long lived in quiet obscurity, careful to hide their magic from the ever-watching eyes of a world grown increasingly fearful of witches. Their connection was immediate, a bond forged from the shared understanding, whispered histories, and the weight of families who had survived centuries of persecution. 10 years later, in 1663, their daughter Seraphina was born. From the very beginning, it was clear that she carried a power unlike any before her, the combined legacy of two great magical families and the Codex itself, a tome of immeasurable knowledge and arcane might. Even as an infant, the aura of destiny clung to her, a silent promise of the extraordinary path that awaited. Amara and Richard nurtured Seraphina with both tenderness and careful instruction, teaching her the early lessons of magic, the sacred history of the Codex, and the dangerous world that sought to destroy what they had fought to protect. But peace is often fleeting, and the shadow of those who hunted the magical left no one untouched. By 1680, when Seraphina was just 17, tragedy struck. Amara and Richard gave their lives to shield their daughter, sacrificing themselves so that she might survive. In their final heart-wrenching act of love, they entrusted Seraphina with the Codex and arranged for her safe passage to New World, a distant land far from the reach of hunters and inquisitors, a place where she could continue the sacred duty her family had borne from generations. Thus, Seraphina's journey began, a young witch, more powerful than either of her parents alone, carrying not just a book of ancient secrets, but the weight of her family's century-old legacy, a legacy that would shape her destiny and the fate of both human and magical worlds.